In today's show, we are going to be taking a look at where the VCs are allocating capital. In today's video, I will give you 5 projects and 5 sectors in which the VCs are allocating funds towards in Q4 2022. In this video, I have 2 airdrops as well for projects which aren't even released yet, which I think can provide you guys an opportunity to get involved in some promising projects before they even hit the market. So it will be an alpha-packed show. Make sure to smash the like button to show this video some love. Let's get straight into the show because there is a lot to share with you today. So the first thing that we do have to look at is the consistency of VC investments and the amount of VC investments in Q3 2022. Now, the very interesting thing is that VC investments actually slightly reduced. So it's not just retail that are allocating less money to the market. It's actually the VCs as well, which we can see is represented by a minus 67% decline in the amount they're investing compared to 2021. Right now, the VCs are gearing their investments mostly towards L1s. I think many of these view as high upside yet safe bets, game studios, NFT and DAO infrastructure, and social platforms. Crypto industry experiences a hard time, but with the real use cases, we can overcome the winter. And that is exactly what the VCs are trying to do. They are basically identifying projects that in the next 3, 4, 5 years can succeed off the back of real world use cases. They don't invest like your typical retail investor. They don't invest just for a short-term pump. Although they obviously do take profits alongside retail, they are more interested in capturing the upside of a multi-year play for some of these altcoins and some of the industries that they think over the long term can perform very, very well. Now, in Q3 2022, the total fundraising amount from VCs was $5.1 billion, and they invested in over 386 projects. In Q2 2022, so the quarter before, they invested $15 billion in 656 projects. So there has been a slight cool down following a slight decline in the severity of the macro, or a slight increase in the severity of the macroeconomic conditions. And that is exactly why they're investing less. But interestingly to note, the top exchanges, your Coinbases, FTXs, Binance, Paradigm, A16, they are still very, very active. And it's actually some of these smaller VCs where we have seen the decline in investment. So let's get straight into some of the projects that they are investing on, because there's 5 very interesting narratives which they are investing in. The first one is the L1 trade. So we know that they are very interested in investing in upcoming L1s. Just as Solana and AVAX were heavily VC-backed projects last cycle, they are looking at the next crop of L1s, which could potentially deliver those kind of, 1,000x, 2,000x multiples that those projects did. And what they're doing at the moment is investing in the L1s that they think have potential. Now, 2 of these, as you guys know, are SUI and Aptos, very popular VC-funded L1s right now that have secured a lot of investment. So Aptos Labs is a project that has gotten a major investment of over $2 billion, and SUI as well. So they have $2 and $4 billion valuations respectively, which put them as some of the highest value projects which haven't even gone to market yet. And the reason they are so hyped is because they are using the programming language called Move and DM, which are off the back of Facebook's development. So Meta Platforms or Facebook were developing a blockchain. This eventually ended up siphoning off into these other blockchains. And there's a lot of hype behind them because they have backing from the likes of Google and many other big players as well. And this is one of the reasons why your Miston Labs and Aptos are some of the highest invested VC projects in crypto. Now, I've done more in-depth explanations on them in previous videos, so I won't do that in today's show. But Aptos and SUI are definitely fast, scalable L1s, which are getting a lot of attention, certainly from the VCs. Now, there are 29 early stage projects right now in Aptos. So if you're interested in buying Aptos, obviously you can't do it through the open market, but there are projects which you can get involved in through receiving airdrops, where you can get exposure to these projects before they actually launch. There is a thread by Airdrop Official which outlines 29 projects on Aptos which are currently launching and showing you the best ways to potentially get an airdrop. So guys, look at this thread if you're seriously interested about getting involved in Aptos before it launches and you like the project. I know I do as well. I'm looking at getting some of these airdrops. This thread is serious alpha. I did go through some of it in last week's video, but we could see some of the major projects, Miro, Knock Knock Metaverse, Pond, that's a very nice NFT marketplace, Aptos Sport, a sports betting platform. You guys know I'm a big fan of gambling-orientated platforms, as that's still today one of the biggest use cases for crypto. There's a lot of potential opportunities there. So how would you get an airdrop to the Aptos token itself? Obviously, you can get an airdrop to a lot of the ecosystem tokens through getting involved in the Discords, through completing certain initiatives. But for the Aptos airdrop itself, it is actually quite simple. So there are 4 rounds. So rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4, where you can get involved in their incentivized testnet program. Basically, what this means is you can register, and if you get accepted, you can meet the requirements for performing tasks via just using the network, and then you can receive APT or the Aptos token after launch. It's simple. All you need to do is create an Aptos wallet, interact with Aptos dApps, and get involved with the Aptos naming service and the DEX. Basically, just use the applications. They just want users getting on chain and using apps. The way to do this is by going to aptoslabs.com/incentivize-testnet. There is a link in this thread as well by Corleone. And basically, all you need to do is register and then follow some of the details in the testnet participation. This will give you the best chance of receiving an Aptos airdrop. So for everyone in the comments asking, but it's not launched, I can't buy it, there's actually good news for you. You can get involved with these airdrops. You just have to be a bit proactive because a lot of people are like, we can't buy the token, but sometimes with these tokens, you just need to use the network and get involved in the ecosystems early before they launch. That is a little bit of alpha for you guys as well. And then obviously VCs are investing heavily in SUI with that $2 billion valuation because another $300 million was invested by FTX Ventures. And we saw another few hundred million that was invested in Aptos by Binance, which is now at a valuation of $4 billion. So Aptos currently at 2 times the valuation of SUI. Which is to be expected. Aptos is the more, I guess, hyped project in many ways, but I think they're very similar, and I kind of put them in the same basket because many of the same VCs share an investment in both platforms, and a lot of the communities kind of view them in a similar light as well. So without further ado, let's get into narrative number 2 that VCs are investing in. And this is probably my most interesting point of the entire video. But before we get into this point, remember, the trading competition started today. So if you're not involved, get involved. $100,000 potential prize pool that you can win. It's a massive, massive prize pool. There's only 970 participants. So at face value, if you're a bounty, you'd be like, wow, that's kind of disappointing. But for you guys, for the participants, that's very, very good for you. Why? Because there's less competition. So all you need to do, I'm not saying it's easy, but if you come in the top 10, you can win some pretty massive prizes, up to $10,000. And there's only 970 participants. So pretty good opportunity. The less people that sign up, the better for you. So it's up to you whether you want to get involved, but you only need $250. I personally think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be sharing some trades on the go with you guys as well. I know Sheldon did a live trading series yesterday. All you need to do to sign up, it's actually quite simple. Just click in the description of this video. There is a link. You'll see the second ByBit link to sign up to a ByBit account and the second BitGet link to sign up to a BitGet account. Once you've signed up for a ByBit or a BitGet account, you can go to the registration link for ByBit or BitGet. BitGet's $55,000. ByBit's $100,000. You can trade on both. You can trade on just one of them if you just like one of the exchanges. And yeah, that's how you register and get involved with that. So link in the description to that stuff. Very excited for this trading comp. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sector number 2 that VCs are investing in, game studios. So we know how popular crypto gaming has been in the eyes of VCs, but I think there's been this trend, and this is a trend that I've personally been adhering to in my own investment strategy, and that trend is investing in studios rather than individual games. Now, if you're a gaming expert, so if you're a hustle, of course, getting involved in these individual ecosystems can be very, very lucrative. If you hit a winning game and you've got the NFTs, they can soar in price. The problem is you really have to be a gaming specialist or a gaming expert to participate in those events and participate in these ecosystems, because you have to niche down in crypto. So if you're focused on too many things, your DeFi, your L1s, your L2s, your L0s, and your gaming and your bridges, and you focus on a million different things, you're never going to become an expert in anything. So to be honest, for the majority of investors, it is actually easier in most cases to invest in gaming studios and invest in broader metaverse projects than it is investing in individual games themselves. Interestingly, although VCs do invest obviously in the individual games, they are much more geared towards a lot of these gaming studios where they believe they can get more upside because if one game fails, it's okay because they're going to be pumping out, let's say, 20 games a year. Now, on the open market, you've got tokens like your UOSs, your PYRs, your Gala games. I do like all of these projects. They all are fairly reputable projects with great teams. But Limit Break raised $200 million from Coinbase, FTX, and Paradigm recently. Now, Limit Break is essentially a gaming studio which aims to make free-to-own games on the blockchain. So these will be games maybe with in-app purchases, but they're free to own. So you don't need to pay up front like many traditional games. So recently, Limit Break just gained huge traction by publishing their Japanese-style NFT collection. So this is a very interesting one that I think you guys should follow. They've got a Twitter account and a website. Go check them out. They're a game developer. And if you're interested in upcoming games, well, that would be definitely one to start adding to the follow list because they just did a massive raise of $200 million. So we can focus on that early before it actually launches. They do have their NFT collection, but I'm more talking about the broader project itself. But there's an interesting trend right now that is cementing itself. And I was going to do this as an individual show, but I thought, why not do it now? Because it is a narrative that's very pertinent to crypto gaming. And that is the fact that, and Balaji shared this on his Twitter, that now adults are spending over 6 hours per day on their mobile phones and their desktop laptops. So if we look back to 2008, adults were spending 2.5 to 3 hours on technology. These days, they're spending over 6 hours on technology. Now, this is obviously the most it's ever been, but it also really marks a shift in the digital landscape. So what Balaji's thesis is, with the amount of daily hours increasing so significantly on digital media, is it really a stretch to say that those screens will become more immersive? If people are spending their time on screens, if people are spending all day on social media, then you're going to want the best and most immersive experience possible. And that's why I do think the metaverse narrative has traction, because kids hang out on Fortnite, people spend time on Instagram and TikTok. Our world's essentially immersed in screens, right? Everyone is online. So if we're spending time on these devices, we want them to be more immersive, and people want the most interactive experience. So I think the metaverse, to me, becomes like that convergence of social media, video games, the workplace, where people can have that fun experience with each other and be more interactive with each other, because at times the digital world can be quite isolating. So for me, the metaverse is definitely still something that VCs are obviously not only looking at, but we can actively invest in as individual investors. So as an investor, how do you capture the upside of the metaverse? You need to work out if you believe in it or not. If you don't believe in it, then don't invest in it. I'm just telling you that I think there's a higher probability that we do shift into a more interactive landscape through augmented reality and virtual reality, because people want that experience, right? So obviously, if you have a lower risk profile, there's technology stocks like Facebook and Google, which are actively developing tech. Lower risk than crypto, but they're actively developing metaverse tech. Then if you have like a bigger risk appetite, we can look more towards some of the crypto projects. You've got your Sandboxes and Decentralands as the main ones right now. There's some different ones like Victoria VR and Wilder World as well, which are slightly lesser known metaverse projects, but there are many metaverses. We don't really know which one will be the winner right now. There's a lot of centralized metaverses, which I think will gain more traction than the decentralized ones. But to me, if we are going to see a metaverse future, it does kind of make sense to have it on the blockchain, because you get the inherent benefits that blockchain can offer. So obviously speed and scalability becomes one once the tech reaches that point. But also, I don't think people will want their data necessarily long-term in the hands of a Facebook. I do think that there will be a large percentage of people, at least a very dedicated community, that will want to keep the ownership of their own assets and their own data. And really the only way to do this with security is by offering a blockchain metaverse. And that's why I think even if there's a Facebook or Google metaverse that releases, there'll be iterations on the blockchain, potentially a Decentraland or Sandbox, which end up being very, very popular. Personally, I look at Decentraland and I go, what the fuck? This game looks awful. Although this is an early stage development, so there is still a lot of work to go. It just doesn't look like a game I'd want to play right now. And I'm a little bit harsh on Decentraland, but I mean, it does have $1 billion valuation. So you have to be critical at that level. And there was actually a stat that came out that said Decentraland only had 38 active users. They were very quick to debunk this. They said they have 56,000 monthly active users. I mean, in the scheme of things, still not a lot. Most crappy apps in the App Store have 56,000 users. But I mean, for crypto, considering there's not many users in the ecosystem yet, I guess that is kind of a lot. But still, it was kind of funny that just the very small amount of users that were actually announced. It is interesting though, on DApp Radar, the active users per week, or the active wallets per week interacting with Decentraland, is only 643. So big valuation for a game that doesn't look that great. But something like a Sandbox, in my opinion, is a little bit more palatable than a Decentraland. I do really like Sandbox. I do think they do have tokenomics issues, but it recently actually flipped Sandbox today. So I don't know if they preempted this video, but Sandbox did flip Decentraland. So interesting stuff there. But we know blockchain games, Metaverse projects, they're heavily invested by VCs. We could see that they were invested $9.25 billion in 2022. In 2021, this number was actually less. It was $4 billion. So there's more money in 2022 going into gaming and Metaverse than there was in 2021. So it's more pertinent than ever, this narrative, for the next cycle, in my opinion. There's a very good blockchain games report from DApp Radar, hosted by Blockworks, which is underneath this thread as well. So if you search this thread up, I highly recommend checking that out. There's heaps of information. All right, let's get on to point number 3, which is NFTs. Before we get into that, though, we have a new channel sponsor, which I'd like to thank. You can see them up in the top right of the screen, and that is DeFi Chain. DeFi Chain is basically an application where you can liquidity mine and trade using a DEX your Bitcoin. So for a long time, you couldn't do anything with your Bitcoin. It was kind of just stagnant in a wallet. What they've developed is a proof of stake ecosystem where you can use your Bitcoin like you would use your Ethereum on a DEX. So they have an application which you can download in the description, obviously, or on the App Store on their website, defichain.com, where you can provide Bitcoin as a liquidity pair to earn yield, or you can swap your Bitcoin for other tokens using a DEX, and you can hold your Bitcoin in your wallet as well as many, many other assets. So this is quite an interesting application. We have taken them on as a sponsor, so thank you very much, DeFi Chain, for sponsoring the channel. But also, it's an application that appeals to me personally because you can actually do stuff with your Bitcoin. So I'll give you guys some tutorials in the future on this, and I'll actually put some of my own Bitcoin to work and show you guys how to do it live. But I just wanted to kind of introduce them and give them a warm welcome on today's show. And in the future, I'll give you some in-depth tutorials on that, but it is worth checking out, in my opinion. All right, number 3 for the VC narrative is the NFT trend. So it's quite interesting because many other trends have actually increased, but in Q3 2022, NFT investments showed a different phenomena. The NFT marketplace VC investments actually declined. So many other sectors, as we just saw, crypto gaming, and these L1s actually continue to increase the amount that was invested in them compared to last year, and even compared to last quarter. The NFT marketplace narrative is basically dying. It's getting very, very, very saturated. There's been a big kind of a big backlash to this Solana Magic Eden news, which recently came out. I'll show you what that news is. And it was them announcing that they're moving to optional royalties on Magic Eden. A lot of the community did not like this because they wanted to run a promotion which waived their platform fees. They said that they didn't have to do this. They had to do it in order to kind of, I guess, keep the network active and keep the protocol sustainable. But many, many people in the comments were not happy with this at all. Some people liked it. Some people hated it. Overall, it was very, very hated on. And right now, that just kind of goes to show how broken and torn the NFT community is. I mean, this whole big brain came out and said, starting to think going neck deep in NFTs was not one of my better ideas. With the primary narrative for NFTs stripped away, I'm failing to see the appeal anymore. Now they're literal JPEGs that just want to be coined so bad. And for 90% of NFT projects, I can confirm, like, this is true. Many NFTs are just altcoins with JPEGs, right? However, there are still massive use cases for NFTs. I do believe NFTs are extremely unique with the non-fungibility that they offer. There are many applications. I mean, just for example, you could use your plane ticket, your concert ticket, your train ticket, your personal identity through a soul-bound NFT. The real-world use cases are crazy. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that come to light in crypto just yet. We still have many JPEG projects which are trying to pivot into kind of Ponzi DeFi staking platforms, which obviously has meant that the space has taken a hit. When the risk profile of investors decreases like it is right now with shaky market conditions, the riskiest sectors are the first to go, and one of these sectors is the NFT space, and that's one of the reasons why VC investment into NFTs has decreased. But VC investment into social platforms hasn't decreased. This is very interesting. I think this is more pertinent in terms of a future narrative and trend that could play out than NFTs, or at least NFT marketplaces specifically, and that is social platforms, because currently we are very centralized at the moment. If you want access to quick info, you go to Twitter. I mean, Elon Musk is buying Twitter, but it's still relatively centralized. You want access to, I don't know, funny cat videos, you might go on TikTok or Facebook, but those are all very centralized. You might go on Instagram to see what your friends are doing. Well, that's extremely centralized. And there's no way to earn any money off using those apps. So when you use these apps, it's a time sink, because you use them and you get nothing back. Maybe if you're a creator and you monetize your platform, you get something back with it. But 99% of users on these platforms aren't creators, and they're not recouping any of the time that they're spending. So this is why I think A, the security benefits, and B, the ability to earn could make social platforms a very interesting play. There is a few that the VCs are starting to look at the moment. Farcaster is one of them. So it's a social platform which is led by DWR, but they raised $30 million from Andreessen Horowitz, Multicoin, and Coinbase. They're trying to decentralize the core properties, including the username registry and social data of a social media platform. Check these guys out. You guys know I'm a big fan of Twitter lists. If I like a project, I add it to my upcoming Twitter list. Go check out Farcaster and add them to your Twitter list and stay up to date with what they are doing, because it's very, very, very interesting. The Coinbase executive said on Tuesday that they raised $30 million, and they announced the round on their website. He explained that the Coinbase director had started working on an idea called RSS Plus in 2022. Quite interesting, these decentralized social networks, and I definitely think we should be taking a look at them very strongly. Now, you have BBS. I'm a big fan of BBS as a platform. It hasn't really taken off yet. I mean, it does have some users and you can earn money on it, but in the bear market, slightly harder to earn money from posting on BBS, but still, nonetheless, I do think it's a cool project. So that's another one you can look at. And then another social media that you can look at is this decentralized social graph from the Aave team that they just launched. So essentially what they're doing is launching a project called Lens Protocol. Now, people have been asking, well, Lens Protocol looks cool, but how do we actually get access to Lens Protocol as it's not launched? They are doing a fair launch. So people that are involved in the community can get access to an airdrop. So similar to what Aptos is doing, if you join their Discord and go into the fair launch channel, there is a chance that you can receive an airdrop to investing in Lens Protocol, which is their upcoming social media venture. So if you join their Discord, you can do so on, let me just get the exact link for you guys. It's not even on this website right now. If you look up Lens Protocol on Twitter, or Aave Lens Protocol on Twitter, you'll find their page, and that will link you to the Discord. Or you can go on one of these articles, but the link's broken right now. You can start getting involved in the community. So this is one way to get access to a fair launch for the Aave social media. But the trend is quite intriguing to me. Many of these big social media platforms are now starting to get investment from some of the big VCs to launch decentralized iterations of their predecessors, which obviously your Facebooks, Twitters, etc. Quite a cool sector that I'm looking at. And also Nadson is releasing a messaging app as well. So many of these big crypto players are starting to get involved in a decentralized social media. And obviously not all of these are going to play out. There's been many social medias in the real world which have failed, but all you need is one to really hit it big. And that one can then become the new golden standard of social media and crypto. And if you can pick that one can generate you 1,000, 2,000, 3x, 3,000, 4,000x returns. The problem in crypto, and this isn't specific to this social media stuff exactly, is that not all projects succeed in every given niche. In fact, most end up failing in every given niche. So you kind of have to take smaller, more concentrated bets if you want a chance of hitting it big on one of these. And the thing with investing in crypto is, because most projects fail, it does become hard to pick that one. But there are things that we can do to give ourselves advantages to pick the ones that do succeed. A, risk management, so not investing too much of your portfolio in any given project. B, being stringent with our research process. I am releasing an updated research thread on my Twitter on Saturday or Sunday, which will outline steps to research. But if you guys watch the show, you know some of the methodologies that I use to research projects. You have to be very stringent with that. And you also have to be very selective with how you judge a project based on its team. Does it have a strong team? Does it have a strong community? But most importantly, does it have a real use case? And does it have competitive advantages versus another project in a similar niche? So if you're investing in, let's say, Solana, you have to be cognizant of the fact that Solana needs a distinct advantage versus Ethereum, versus AVAX, versus Matic, to incentivize people to actually use Solana. Now, what I would say is Solana's gaming and NFT side of things and their real push towards a UI focus, especially with their mobile stuff, that is their unique advantage. But not every project has one. And that is why whenever we look at a new social media or anything in these niches, because they have so many competitors, we have to be strict with our research process and not just chuck money at the wind. VCs can afford to chuck money at the chuck shit at the wall and hope that something sticks, because they have so much money, right? So they can invest in 600 projects at once. They usually will go around like 40 to 50, but they can do more. And they can fail on 35 because 5 of them could succeed and make them 100x, 200x multiples and recoup their initial investment, right? So you just have to be very selective with what you actually invest in and what you research, but you've got the narratives now. You know that the new L1 plays are going to be big next cycle. We know that social media platforms will be big. We also know gaming and Metaverse will be big. Now it's about picking the individual projects within those niches which can succeed. Right now, I am on a bit of an effort. I'm on a very big research rabbit hole. Now, I go through these phases where I go really in depth into researching new projects. And right now I'm in one of these phases. So you guys can see, I'm going to show you my screen. I'm in the countryside at the moment. This is my pool. This is the view of the lake. I can actually see out into the lake right now if I look past my camera. I'm in a very nice spot to stream, but I'm also in a spot where I'm not getting many distractions. So what I decided to do was, for the next 2 weeks, because I am going to Lisbon and London in 2 weeks, very excited to meet the Banter fam in Europe, by the way. If you're going to be at Breakpoint, it's going to be very exciting. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm locked down. I'm not in city. I usually live in Melbourne. I've got no distractions. All I've got is my computer. You guys can probably tell my internet's pretty bad. That's why it chops in and out. Sorry, that's just how it's going to be for the next week. But this is going to allow me to put in 2 weeks of really in-depth work to find these small caps which can 50 to 100x next cycle. I have already found one, by the way, that I'll be revealing definitely in a show this week. So make sure you're watching the shows every day. I found one that I think has a lot of potential, but I'm really going deep into the research at the moment because I'm trying to think outside the box a little bit. I feel like it's very easy as investors to get very pigeonholed. Like, we know a lot about Solanas and Matics and these bigger ecosystems, and we kind of have a tendency to stick to what we know. But I'm trying to really push the limits of what we don't know and implement my research methodologies to projects that are new and aren't necessarily hyped. So as I said, I found one. I'm going to keep you updated with my findings, but really my kind of purpose, at least the purpose I'm assigning myself, is to identify these small caps for the next cycle and really go head deep into researching them. Of course, I'll keep you updated on my shows, also on my Twitter as well. So make sure you're following my Twitter. But yeah, that's basically my focus right now. And these narratives that the VCs are investing in do give us great insight as to where the smart money is deploying capital, because if we can get access to their minds, then all we need to do now is the grunt work and work out which projects within those niches can explode. The fifth niche as well that I was going to talk about, but there's not really much to say, is DAO infrastructure. I'm not a huge fan of DAOs. I think they can work, but to this date, there's been many issues with them. However, they did do a massive $100 million raise for Gnosis Safe, which is an upcoming DAO. But yeah, DAO infrastructure is definitely another thing that VCs are looking at and are investing in. You can see the NFT verticals here, and you can see at the start of this thread we have the overall categories that the VCs are investing in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Make sure you smash the like button if you did. Click the subscribe button if you want future content like this, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a quant deep dive. I know a lot of people want this quant deep dive because quant is exploding right now, and there's been crazy price targets at $200 now, but people are saying, could it hit $1,000? Well, in tomorrow's show, I will be evaluating whether I think it can hit $1,000 or not. It's going to be a cool show. Looking at a project we haven't really talked about enough on the channel, I don't think. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.